Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. So on CookieCast, it's the football podcast, and the season's really heating up. Find out what the back end of the season looks like for these teams, and see what these guys think is gonna be the end of the season type game situation. Oh, it's getting close to the end. Is there gonna be promotion talk, perhaps? Find out next. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Share that podcast around, people. If you like the football, you probably know someone who likes the football, and they will like this podcast. Send it their way. Right, here we go. This is CookieCast, football podcast.
Welcome on in, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another week of the football podcast right here on the CookieCast Podcast Network. And for those of you watching us by the means of YouTube, don't adjust your set. I was correct in saying that it is the football podcast, as there's a face that you might recognise from a different podcast that we do here on the CookieCast Podcast Network. A very warm welcome to Max Hepworth. How are we doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Obviously, it's the end of the season in one way, but obviously it's just the beginning of the best part of the season in other ways for championship teams. Obviously, referring to the playoffs. Obviously, I can hear Matt just chuckling away in the background there. Obviously, he is the one on the podcast that has had the most recent experience with the playoffs. And speaking from experience, I imagine wouldn't wish it on his worst enemy.
Weren't you in the playoffs last year?
Borough, no.
You've been in the playoffs since Forest won the playoffs, though, in the past 4 years.
Yeah, but I'm talking about a successful experience of the playoffs.
Yeah, but like crippling anxiety
to himself.
Crippling anxiety and all that kind of thing. I think it's a mutual share of like the horrific nature of the playoffs. It's with one Forest win carries the emotional scars of Yeovil, Sheffield United numerous times, walking down, I can't remember which street it is in York, just be like, fuck's sake. That's if you think that was when I was at university, so that's 20 years ago. So it's 20 years of like, it's not the best time of the year, it's the worst time of the year. It's just, yeah, it's horrible.
Well,
it's very exciting, but it's also like exciting to the point where at any moment you could just get a huge kick in the nads. Like it's a very fun balancing act.
It's like almost like, yeah, so exciting that you're going to vomit at any minute though as well. That's exciting, exciting, more.
Perfectly timed.
Well,
took a drink then as well.
Yeah, sorry about that. So, obviously, we'll get to that at a later point, but obviously we need to go through last week's games first, and the first of which was almost a bit like a playoff final in the fact that it was a semi-final, first leg, and it was Nottingham Forest versus Aston Villa in the first leg of the Europa League semi-final. And I know for a fact that you were able to watch this.
You did very kindly, yeah. Oh, we won't say it on here because they might get blocked. I just managed to get a means to watch the game. So yes, thank you very much. Yeah, it was. I mean, speaking of vomit-inducing, it's. I think like last week I said it feels like we're playing with house money. So whatever kind of comes of it is house money kind of thing, because when Deitch took over and was playing backup players that he'd apparently roundly destroyed in training session after training session, and then fetched them out and then destroyed them in the press as well, that was part of the reason why Gibbs White kind of apparently this is like stuff it's like that kind of I think it's a podcast that I listen to and the guy refers it as now they tell us kind of thing. So once everyone's gone, then all the shit kind of comes out. And it's basically like Gibbs White had just had enough of Deitch basically picking on all the kind of backup players, and after they lost at Wrexham, absolutely shitting all over them and stuff like that. So yeah, kind of what you wouldn't have thought that we would have got to the Europa semi-finals, but obviously here we are. So yeah, kind of it was end to end, but with not many chances would have been my kind of thing. It seemed to be very much 18-yard box to 18-yard box. I think like all of the kind of talented players took the opportunity to kind of show out, as they say. Some of the, I think if you go online and I'm sure if you just Google Elliot Anderson against Villa, the amount of nutmegs that he does is preposterous, particularly the one on Morgan Rogers where he just rolls it with the underside of his boot through his legs, which was just, it was quite disrespectful, to be fair.
I don't know what's better, the Megs or the noise that Ali McCoist made. Because it was just a pure sort of the Gary Neville one when it was Torres in the Champions League and stuff like
that. But it looked like the game was going to just peter out to a draw, to be fair, or for everything to be kind of settled on the following Thursday. And then Digne, the ball looked like it was going out, and Amari Hutchinson tried to hook it back in, and Digne decided that we were playing volleyball. It was absolute insanity. I think I messaged you guys like saying, "What the hell has he done?" And he's not even my. It was one of those moments where, even though he's the opposition player, you're like, "What the hell has he done? Why? What have you done like this?" So yeah, penalty given after a long VAR kind of think about it. Then Chris Wood took the penalty, stuck it in the back of the net. Really kind of confident penalty against Martinez, who does all his shithousey kind of thing and is a good penalty saver. So yeah, 1-0 win. Take that into the second leg. I didn't see the Anderson thing on Ollie Watkins, but the fact that he was running about crying about it a few seconds later suggests he's all right.
Yeah, it was. I think it would have been very, very harsh for him to have given it as a red. Unfortunately, the problem is when you've got like the VAR stuff, the thing that would have gone against him in that regard is the fact that as he goes for the ball, he does miss the ball, but sort of gets it with his I think it's his calf or something, rolls over the top of the ball, and then obviously his foot comes into contact with Watkins and. Like that's what causes him to sort of and stuff like that. But like he does get the ball first, so it's not a question of he's just gone straight through the guy. Like he does make contact with the ball first. I think it was the correct decision in the end. So from a predictions perspective on the podcast, it was Matt who got no points for this as he went for the optimistic 3-1 Aston Villa win. With Igor Jesus to score, and then obviously three Villa players. Myself and Stu, however, had both gone for 2-1 Nottingham Forest wins. Stu had Igor Jesus and Wood as his goal scorers. I had Gibbs White and Wood as my goal scorer, so we both get a bonus point to go along with our point for the correct result. So we move to championship games, and it was the last day of the season at the MKM Stadium, so I'll pass over to our two Hull correspondents. Did you go to the game, Max, or were you just watching on the TV?
I went. Okay.
Oh, very nice. So have we got two sort of perspectives from the same stand, or were you watching from a different stand to Stu?
Where do you sit, Stu?
South stand, so behind the goal.
I am east, but I'm like E11, so I'm kind of like from the corner flag of the southeast, really.
Well, you're not that far away then.
Yeah.
So I've got my usual stuff. So Max, I will go through, and if you want to chip in at any point, please feel free. Um, but yeah, here we go. So it would help if I had it on the right page, wouldn't it? It was definitely a day of drama and a fair bit of tension, I would say, at the MKM. I said before the game that I didn't want the other scores creeping in. I didn't want to know until half time and full time, but unfortunately, it was never going to be avoided. We were all too aware that Borough. Sorry, Paul, I'm getting a little cheese salad in time going on, but we were all too aware that Borough 1-0 up very, very early doors, and the crowd were doing their best to lift the Tigers. Um, it wasn't working from what I saw. Hull weren't great. We're struggling under pressure from Norwich, and that pressure paid off for the visitors on 26 minutes. When a nice move saw a looped ball over the back line from Slimane, volleyed home by Toure. Nice finish, to be fair, if you've seen it. And in the movement by Toure, he was definitely onside. And I'm not even saying that sarcastically, definitely onside. We'll come back to that later. At this point, quite honestly, I'd had 2 pints very quickly and went for a wee. I had 2 pints in quick succession, and I thought, right, they've scored. And weirdly, there was empty seats in my row, so I was like, right, I'm off. There is nothing worse than being stood in the gents and hearing, oh, whey, and you're thinking, that wasn't loud enough to be a goal, but something has happened. Managed to get back to the seats just in time to see Ollie McBurney equalise not more than 2 minutes after the goal from Norwich. The penalty was given in the build-up. Joe Gelhardt absolutely bundled over in the box. I think the tackle looked to be almost thigh-high when he first started the contact. Appreciate Gelhardt is not a tall man, but still, it was quite high. It was easily the most Stonewall penalty you've seen probably most of the season. But yeah, it was nice. The penalty wasn't your how do we put this? Full of confidence, slam it into the top bins. It was very much trundled down the middle, and thankfully the keeper dived out the way. It was one of them penalties to me, having watched it there and now seen it back on more than one occasion. I'm not going to do the guy down too much, but I feel like it was quite lucky that it went in. Like, I don't know how you feel about it, Max.
It went in, so that's all that matters. But I think you could say that about quite a lot of penalties, though. I think you look at a lot of them and say, well, if the keeper would have either stayed or gone the right way, they'd have definitely saved it. But because I personally think he gave the keeper the eyes, and the keeper obviously thought he was going that way. But I don't know. I think it's always difficult, isn't it? You see so as I say, you see so many penalties taken where somebody goes, that's an excellent penalty, and you actually look at it and go, it wasn't. The result was excellent in the fact that it went in the back of the net, but there's so many that could quite easily be saved if the keeper went the right way.
Well, at this point as well, we should point out that Derby were also winning, and that saw them in sixth place, with Wrexham equalising as well with Borough, us equalising with Norwich. It kept everything kind of as it was, except for Derby had managed to sneak into the playoff positions. But this is where the crowd, for me, really got into it. The crowd were really like, for me, that's the best atmosphere I've heard at the MKM all season. I've been saying in the week building up, they'd been banging on that they'd sold out. So it was going to be an over 24,000 strong crowd. And it was indeed. It was 24,600 some. My concern was, we've been there before, and you can still hear a pin drop. And I'm really, really happy to say that wasn't the case this past weekend. And the crowd really did get stuck into the game. And I've also said on the podcast numerous times this year that with regards to them coming back in the manner that they did, as in Hull, like this for me is the main difference under Jakirovic. It's just the reluctance to give up. And obviously it showed again right from the kickoff. So yeah, McBurney had slotted that penalty in down the middle. But Norwich kind of took control a little bit again until half time, I thought. For a side that can pass the ball pretty well, they just didn't really have a lot of end product, is how I would have described the play. Lots of really nice passing, but no real purpose to it. Would you agree, Max?
Yeah, for me, the first half felt very much like an away Hull City performance against a side that passes a lot better than what we do. I think it was we soak up. It's almost as though our game plan is to soak up pressure whilst we're kind of making our own game plan kind of like on the fly as to we're working out ways to which we can either break them down or we can expose any weaknesses that we're kind of plotting throughout the game. And I think that's been one of our strengths this season, in the fact that because we have been able to sit back and actually soak up pressure without conceding too early, it's allowed us to say come up with a plan mid-match or something like that, which then takes teams by surprise. I think that's how we've been able to take so many points this season, and I think it did work on Saturday.
Well,
But I think that's for me that's what they were doing in the first half. I think there was obviously a lot of tension in the stadium, a lot of tension within the squad. I think there's been tension in the squad since February, really. Those 5 home games that we had in a row, and I think it was just right. Let's go back to what we know, what we can do, and I think that's what we did in the first half.
well, it played through to half time. The score stayed level. It was 1-1 with us. Derby was still winning, and Wrexham managed to get to a 2-2 draw at this point at half time. So at half time, that sat us in 8th. But Hull did come out much sharper in the second half. I have to say as well that the manager was banned from pitch side for this one. He weirdly he was banned from the red card at Leicester, not from anything at Charlton, and then somehow got a choice as to when he could take the ban, and he chose to take it at the weekend rather than weird. Anyway, again, slightly more on that later. But he obviously came down. He was allowed to do the team talk in the changing rooms, and City did come out much sharper in the second half. They were definitely looking to get the ball moving much more quickly through the midfield. And I have to say, probably no coincidence with Slater back in the side. Slater has just been next level this season, really, for us. Not necessarily the output in terms of goals, maybe, that he has had in seasons gone by, but his impact on the team has been worth more than popping up with 2 or 3 goals here and there, for sure. On 53 minutes, Ryan Giles had a free kick from the deep left, and it met the run of Ollie McBurney, sort of pretty much on the edge of the 6-yard box. He had a low volley, but the keeper managed to push it around the post. But the breakthrough for Hull came in the 67th minute in a very similar fashion. This time, it was Louis Coyle providing the free kick from the opposite flank. It was headed into the box by Matt Crooks, and then McBurney was left to slam home the winner. On the replays, he did look to be offside. I have to say, they picked it up fairly early as well on the coverage, but from when I've seen it back. But yeah, he did look to be offside by a whisker. But for once, Hull actually got some benefit of some crap officiating. But this is the point in the podcast where we talk about how shit the referees have been all year, because if can you imagine if it had come down to us or Norwich and we were playing each other, like almost like the York Rochdale thing, if it had been those two teams going for the last playoff place, playing each other on the last day, and that's what decided it, there'd have been absolute hell on. But anyway, for me after that, pretty much like the first half, I think Norwich were very much on their holidays. and they just saw out the game. They barely threatened the whole goal, and then the news came around the ground that Wrexham had drawn. Derby had managed to throw away their lead to lose 1-2. So again, at home as well. Thanks, Derby. To Sheffield United of all teams, who have, I mean, the only thing that they've set on fire all season is what a bin in protest, but they've not set anything on fire. They've been absolutely awful this season. And yeah, all that news filtering through to East Yorkshire, and it all came down to a corner to Norwich as the final act of the game. You know what's going to happen here, don't you? We've seen it 100 times. City always concede an injury time as well. And the ball was swung in from the, I believe it, the right-hand side, or City's right-hand side. Here comes Panda, Max's favourite Hull City player. Leapt into the air. And for once actually used his hands, made it safe, claimed the ball. And that was pretty much the last act. Confirmed 6th place for Hull. And a couple of dates with Millwall, of all people, in the playoff semi-finals. I did mention as well, yeah, Jukanovic was banned from pitch side. After the game, the players and staff did their season-ending lap of appreciation, as always happens. Obviously, this was after they had to clear all the dickheads off the pitch. But the FA ruling, as he was banned from pitch side during the game, that ban also extends to 2 hours after the game has finished. So the manager that led us to the playoffs this season was not allowed to just walk around the edge of the pitch and thank the fans, which is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Although, in a surprise to absolutely nobody, club chairman Ajun Ilajali was front and centre and absolutely fucking loving it. So, did you see any of that, Max?
Yeah, it's just typical of him, isn't it? You know, it'd go to the opening of an envelope if he could, wouldn't he? And bask in it. Yeah.
He actually did. Well, the night before the game as well, they did a bit of a last minute evening with kind of thing like I've been to before with the chairman. And the biggest shocker for me is of the whole weekend, not even the result, is the fact that I don't think there was anything too controversial that came out of his. I know, I couldn't believe it. He didn't slag anybody off. He didn't throw the goalkeeper under the bus. That's Max's job. That's why he's here. But yeah, weirdly a good weekend of football. It's not happened for at least a month and a half.
You would have thought he would have done a quick little victory lap after Liam Rosenior got sacked.
I told you.
See, I was right.
Visionary.
Yeah.
I knew this 2 years ago.
The difference being was though with the Rosenior thing there, it was because him and Rosenior fell out about the appointment of the goalkeeper at the time, and it was one position really that let him down that season. I don't think any of the Chelsea players were really that arsed about him, were they?
No.
Didn't they call him the substitute teacher or something at Chelsea?
Oh,
yeah,
I've heard that too.
Yeah,
I mean, it's been bandied about before, isn't it? That was what was used for. I think Gary O'Neill got that term when he was first brought in at like Bournemouth and stuff like that. So it's a good one, and I do enjoy it. It's quite fun. So predictions wise, sadly, it's no points for Stu and Matt on this one. Stu gone for a 1-1 draw with Crooks and Matson to score. No points there. Matt had gone for a 2-2 draw with Gelhardt, Miller, Kvistgarden and Maghoma to score. No points there. I also didn't get any of the goal scorers. That's a lie. I did get one of the goal scorers. I had Toure to score for Norwich. And I also had a 2-1 Hull win. So I bagged myself 2 points. for the correct score. Sadly, Gelhart and Crooks didn't score for Hull. Otherwise, I'd have been cheesing it with full points there. So 3 points to me, no points to Stu, no points to Matt. We move on to the third game of the week, and Stu's pretty much given you all of the details that he needed to in the Wrexham and Middlesbrough game. So I'll just rattle through the goals to sort of keep us on the straight and narrow. Borough took the lead after 4 minutes. It was a little bit of work by Callum Britton down the right hand side, as he's been doing all season. He's very, very attack minded. His ball across the face of the goal. I've watched this about 5 times. I still have no idea. He's been credited as a Tommy Conway goal. I have no idea who it goes in off or what part of Tommy Conway it goes in off. If it does indeed go in off Tommy Conway, it almost sort of hits him, and then seems to sort of just bobble over the keeper. But either way, it trickled into the goal. Borough took the lead on 4 minutes. Wrexham obviously then went on the front foot as they needed to get back into the game to try and get back in the playoff spots. And they did so on the 28th minute. And what a finish by Josh Windass. Similar position to Morgan Whitaker's free kick against Watford for Borough the week before. And probably a better hit, to be honest with you, as he's absolutely smashed it into the top left-hand corner. Just an absolute wonder strike, to not put too fine a point on it. They found themselves 2-1 up on the 41st minute. Sam Smith turning home from after good work by Issa Kabore down the right-hand side. He sort of fired the ball in, and Smith was able to just direct it straight into the back of the net to make it 2-1. But again, Borough weren't behind for too long as they equalised 2 minutes later. David Strelic got on the end of a Matt Target crossing from the left-hand side to fire home past the keeper. So an entertaining first half ended 2-2. At that point, I believe Wrexham were outside the playoffs as Derby were winning at half-time, as I think Stu had covered. Into the second half, there were no further goals, but there was a decent chance at either end for both teams. The first one fell to Leo Castledine for Borough. The ball was sort of pinging around the box. Eventually made its way to Castledine about 4 or 5 yards out. He took a touch and then just couldn't sort his feet out, it seemed. It seemed like it was easy just to sort of lift the ball high at the roof of the net. But he was unable to. And then down the other end, Windass had a chance to win it quite close to the death when the ball was played back to him on the edge of the box. But unfortunately, he leaned back a little bit too much and skied the ball straight into row Z. Kiefer Moore did have a chance right at the end where he cut back onto his left-hand side, but just blazed it very, very far wide and not particularly handsome. Which, yes, did mean that the game petered out to a 2-2 draw, and Wrexham, unfortunately, do not take the 6th playoff spot. That does go to our boys from the NKM Stadium. So, predictions-wise, my points run comes to an end, ladies and gentlemen. I went for a 2-0 Middlesbrough win with Whitaker and Gilbert to score the goals. Wah, wah. No points for me. Matt had gone for a 2-1 Middlesbrough win and did pick Conway as one of his goal scorers, so gets himself a bonus point there. Stu, however, had picked a 2-2 draw, so 2 points there for the correct score. He also picked Smith as one of his Wrexham goal scorers, so he bags himself a bonus point there. So it's 5 points for me so far through 3 games, 5 points for Stu through 3 games, and just 1 point for Mr. Moore. We have 1 game left to go through from week 35. But before we do that, we'll step away momentarily and take a very short break. We'll be right back with you very shortly. And just like that, the break is over, and we come back at you with the final game of week 35. And what a game it was, ladies and gentlemen. It was Chelsea versus Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. And prior to this game starting, Would it be easy? Would it be simple to say that none of us were really feeling that confident that Forest were going to get a result here, given the team selection, Matthew?
Well, I mean, I'd had like what 48 hours of just losing my shit over things because Villa had made 7 changes the night before and lost to Spurs, which had kind of made me worry about relegation and stuff like that. So thinking that Forest were going to have to put, and then the team sheet came out and Forest had thought, well, just go one better than you, Villa. We'll make 8 changes, and yeah, as I've mentioned before, it was a team of players that have been roundly chastised, mocked, just waste of money, all that kind of thing. And then of course they came out and absolutely smashed the living daylights out of a pretty poor Chelsea team in terms of attitude. And the players are still decent, but seems to be the kind of way that Forest are going about it at the moment. Try and get an early goal. They got that through Taiwo after 2 minutes. Bakwa doing what he did, what we thought he was going to do, which was be a touchline hugging winger, take his man on, which he did in this. Got to the byline, crossed it in, and Taiwo headed it in. I'm going to say it. Possibly the best goal that Taiwo scored for Forest. It might be the most intentional kind of goal that he scored for Forest.
What a review!
Well, I mean, I was listening to something the other day, and I don't think any of his shots have actually come off the pot of the body he intended to. It's like either a shin or it's just never kind of thing.
The element of surprise, Matthew. The element of surprise.
The illusion
for him.
So yeah, Taiwo got that first header in, really well done. Then bit more kind of cut a few minutes later. A bit more skill from Bakwa on the right hand side. Kind of managed to get through 2 or 3 Chelsea players to clip it in with his left foot. And is it Gusto? Had more than a handful of Taiwo's shirt. Absolutely not needed whatsoever because the ball was drifting out of play. But referee gives the penalty. Up steps Igor Jesus and sticks it down the middle. So 2-0. Chelsea came into it a little bit more at the end of the first half. Had a few chances, had a shout for a penalty, and then actually got a penalty in like a nasty incident with Zach Abbott at Forest and Jesse Derry, Sean Derry's son, who was making his debut, had a lively start as well. Nasty clash of the heads that gave Chelsea a penalty, but Derry, the Chelsea player, was knocked kind of clean out, stretched off, taken to hospital with checks. Zach Abbott is in the concussion protocol, so probably won't play against Villa in the Europa League. But up stepped Cole Palmer, and I think last week I said, if a player's going on a bad run of form, they come and play our teams. Well, his bad run continued because that was a woeful penalty, and some people were like, it wasn't that bad. It was a terrible penalty. There was no power behind it. He went placement and hoping that the keeper would go the wrong way. I think someone else had said that Thomas Tuchel was in the crowd, and someone had said it was to see obviously Cole Palmer and Morgan Gibbs-White to compare the pair, and Gibbs-White had gone above Cole Palmer by sitting on the bench for the first half because it was that kind of thing. However, come after half time, Forest brought on Anderson. Nico Williams replaced Zach Abbott, but then Forest brought on Gibbs-White, Milenkovic, and Anderson at half time to kind of put a bit more authority onto the game. And not long after them coming on, lovely bit of skill from Anderson about the halfway line, played Gibbs-White through, who played the ball across, looked for like everything that Taiwo was offside, but actually he was behind the ball, slotted it into the back of the net, 3-0. about midway through the half, Gibbs White, I've not seen it, had a nasty clash with the Chelsea keeper Sanchez. Both of them went off. And if you want to see the cut that Gibbs White has got, he posted it on his stories. I'm sure it'll be somewhere online if you want to see it. I only needed to see it once to know that I never wanted to see that one again. It was not good.
I didn't realise that a human head could look like a baseball.
Neither did he until then.
It was really kind of. So I think that kind of knocked the stuffing a little bit out of both teams to have something like that happen again. Gibbs White went off, walked off himself conscious, so that means he's not in concussion protocol. However, he might be wearing a Cody Rhodes style mask come to Thursday evening.
I don't know if you picked up on that, Matt, just then. I would suggest that Max hadn't seen that photograph and has just had a look at that photograph. Had a look on his face.
Yeah, it's not good, is it?
Is it that obvious?
If you're not watching us on YouTube, go and find this part just for Max's face at that particular bit. And there's also as well, if you've not seen Morgan Gibbs White's face from the weekend, have a little look at the same time Max does, and you'll understand exactly what he meant.
Yeah, record your reaction and we'll make a reel of everybody's reactions doing that for the first time. Starting with Max's and we'll go from there. It's horrible. Because I think it's on his actual page, isn't it? Because it's like 4 pictures. It's like I think the caption's something like the fourth one's especially for you, and you kind of flick through and like, oh God, no, get that back off. So the kind of game kind of petered out. Loads of added time. The Chelsea fans got their money's worth, whether they wanted it or not. However, the best goal was saved till last with João Pedro scoring quite a pretty nice overhead kick.
Beauty.
And kind of finished out to a 3-1 Forest win. Not mathematically safe yet, but it requires West Ham to win all their games. Win. Forest to lose their games and West Ham to win 2 and get a draw to go above us, because I think our goal difference is like 17 better than theirs.
So Forest's goal difference is currently -2. I didn't realise it was that close to 0. To be honest with you, that's loads better than I thought it was. Obviously,
the past
massively out by Tonkin Sunderland by 5 goals.
And Burnley the week before. So I think we scored 12 goals in 3 league games. So that's right, isn't it? 4 plus 5 plus 3, 12.
Ding dong. Yeah, so Forest is -2, West Ham's -19. So yes, it's basically 7 points, isn't it? To all intents and purposes. So yeah, one more win for Forest should see him over the line, you would like to think. And again, they might not even need that. It's relying on West Ham winning all 3 of their games, and they've still got to play Arsenal. So, yeah, we'll wait and see. So, predictions wise, there are points on offer. However, they weren't going to Mr. Stuart Woodmansey, as he went for a 1-1 draw with Garnacho and Gibbs White to score, so no points for him. Matt had gone for a 2-1 Chelsea win, but did have João Pedro amongst his goal scorers, so gets a bonus point there. I also had a 1-1 draw, so don't get any points for the result, but I did have João Pedro and Igor Jesus as goal scorers, so I bagged 2 bonus points for that, which means that after the 4 games in week 35, Mr. Moore, 2 points from those 4 games. Mr. Woodmansey, 5 points from those 4 games, but I win the week with 7 points from those 4 games in total. Obviously, big round of applause to me, big pat on the back. I know football, it would appear. So, week 36 brings with it 6 games and is an unprecedented week where we have games in 6 consecutive days. Starting with, not to date the podcast in any way, shape or form, but Aston Villa versus Nottingham Forest tomorrow night in the semi-final second leg of the Europa League Obviously, it's Mr. Moore's team, so he will give his prediction last. I've got mine written down in the book, so I'll get us off to a nice leisurely start. Obviously, both teams made changes, as Matt alluded to in his rundown of the Chelsea game. So you'd imagine that both these will be at pretty much full strength. Given the nature of the two results that they both had at the weekend, I can see this one playing out to a draw, which obviously plays into Forest's hands and puts them into the final. So I've gone for a 1-1. I've gone for Watkins and Awoniyi as my goal scorer. I was going to go with Gibbs White, and then I remembered that his head was
He's
split
not in the
open.
squad, is he?
He's not in the Europa squad.
What the? I thought it got rejigged, and I thought he was in the
Still
squad.
didn't get in.
What? Right. In that case,
Lorenzo
I'll go for.
Luca got his spot.
Oh my good Christ!
Well, that worked out well, didn't it?
Oh god, yeah. I'll go for Igor Jesus instead.
Oh, mother. So just put me down for exactly the same, because if I can work this right on the camera.
I can hang on.
Yeah.
You might just have to speak 1-1 Watkins and Jesus.
Yeah.
Lovely.
I think they'll score it. I think Villa will score early, and then it'll be a bit. I just think Forest will just nick it second half.
Yeah, I think Forest will probably try and just keep it as tight as possible for as long as they can. But I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, if Villa do manage to knock one in the first half, and then obviously maybe go chasing it, and Forest can pick them up on the break.
Well, if it takes if it takes Forest longer than 2 minutes to score, Ty will be stood on the sideline going like, "Come on."
Max, your selection for Villa versus Forest?
As I'm all for excitement, I also picked the exact same as yourself and Stuart.
1-1. Same two goal scorers as well.
Yes.
I thought you were gonna when you started like that. I thought you were gonna say 0-0.
I'll tell you something.
Kind of similar to you.
I wouldn't be surprised if we end up with like a sort of a sort of a not a bore fest, but like a drawn out one where Forest just backs against the wall and just not holding on, but sort of like just trying to sort of keep them as much at bay as possible. Right, so that just leaves us with the Forest fan. Is he going to go optimistic or is he going to go realistic, pessimistic?
You know me.
I was already smiling when he said that.
I've listened to too many podcasts and too many things talking about what a bad run Villa are on and this, that, and the other, and how the other night was shocking and how this was shit and this, that, and the other. And I just feel like they've got to have a reaction. It's been too good for Forest for too long. Trust me, I've supported them for way too long. 35 years. 35 years. Yeah, 35 years. So I've gone for a 2-1 Villa win, which means we get the joy of extra time as well. With Rodgers and McGinn, because McGinn always scores against Forest. And Backwater scored for Forest because he really impressed me from the weekend, and I think he'll get a start again.
Do I have to press you?
And just because just because I know you love them, I've got Villa to win on penalties because Martinez will do his thing.
Boo!
I know.
I certainly hope that's not the case, and I hope for your sake it's our 3 predictions that is the outcome of the evening, and then you can book your flight to insert name of city.
Istanbul.
Is it Istanbul? I was going to say, I don't know why, but in my head, I had Bilbao in my head for some reason.
It might be one of the other ones.
Quite possibly. So, one game done. Our second game takes us to the first of our Championship playoff semi-finals and sees Hull City taking on Millwall. First question, straight off the bat. Are you both going?
Yep. And I have to say as well, massive props to the club for being super organised with this because the game finished on Saturday, and by the time I'd walked back into town to meet Sarah, me and the boys already had our tickets for the Friday night game. All the pass holders, you basically logged into your online account, and the tickets were just waiting for you in the basket, ready to buy.
It's good.
It was completely seamless. It was very, very well done.
Very nice. Obviously, it's Max and Stu's team. They both can't go last. So, as the guest, I'll give Max the option of going last with his prediction for this particular leg of the tie. Let's go straight back to Matt for Matt's prediction on Hull versus Millwall.
I mean, on the ticketing thing, the cynic in me would say they just wanted your money really, really quickly. So,
Yeah, but normally they're really slow at doing that.
it's Chandler that gives that money. I've gone cagey. I've gone for a 1-1 draw. I've got Gelhardt and Coburn scoring.
Forgot about him. Bastard. I shouldn't have forgotten about him.
Well, Stu said he forgot about him. I certainly didn't forget about him. I have gone for a Coburn goal for Millwall, but I think Hull might get something here and have it to take to the Den. So I've gone for a 2-1 home win. And I've gone for McBurney and Gelhardt to score for Hull. Stu, how do you see it panning out?
I think this could be anything. Literally anything. We played them at their place this season, obviously. Beat them 3-1. They played us at our place. They beat us 3-1. So it literally depends which side are going to turn up. Based on the form coming in, overall, I would suggest Millwall will be favourite. However, as I said before, we just don't tend to give up when we go down. So my assumption is it's going to be a draw, and I've gone for a 2-2.
Okay. Interesting.
Same goal scorers for Hull as you pick, so McBurney and Gelhardt. And for Millwall, I've gone for Ivanovic and Azaz.
Aziz.
Azaz. Is it Aziz? Sorry, yeah, Aziz. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Spoilers, whoa. It's Aziz.
The less said of that name, the better. Ivanovic and Aziz.
Give it a couple of minutes, Paul. It'll be fine.
Yeah, don't worry, I'm fully expecting it. So that just leaves us with Max. So are you sort of in agreement with Stu? You think it might be, a bit cagey, potentially could be a bit of a goal fest, or are you thinking it could be like a tight sort of like one goal settles it either way? Or
If you take form into, I agree with Stuart that form-wise, Millwall are the favourites. But I think I messaged you about it, Stu, when I said that the performance against Norwich was the most Jukirovic performance we've put in since February, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think playing and beating Norwich, who, apart from Southampton, really are the most informed team in the country, I feel. I'm probably wrong. I think it came at a really good time, and I think we've got the better side of the draw. I'd rather have played Millwall than Middlesbrough or Southampton. So I've got Hull City for a 2-1 win. Aziz if the thing is, if I ever feel confident about a Hull City win, they're probably going to get beat. So I apologise. I've got Aziz for Millwall because he's impressed me when we have played them. Ollie McBurney for Hull City and Liam Miller. I know it's rogue, but I just feel with Miller, he can put in one of those performances every so often. I think he played very well against Norwich. I thought Norwich was one of his better performances for a long time. And I just feel as though he's going to hopefully continue on that trajectory. rather than his usual putting a 7 out of 10 performance and then putting a 3 out of 10. So I'm hoping for another good performance.
Very nice. Our third game of the week takes us to Saturday, 12:30, and obviously it's my lot. They're taking on the fourth team in the playoffs, Southampton, the team that haven't been beaten since late January by a certain team that play at the MKM Stadium, no less. Obviously, it is my team, so I will give my prediction last. We'll go straight back to Max for Max's pick on Middlesbrough versus Southampton. Be nice.
I'm all about the 2-1s. I'm going 2-1 Southampton.
Okay.
I do apologise. I can't remember what I've written down. I'm just going through my list now. I have got. What have my scorers? Who have I got for my scorers? I had Conway for Middlesbrough.
Yep.
And then. Sorry, I've got this on a different thing. Did I have And then I went a bit out. I went a bit out of the. I went for Tom Fellows and Ryan Manning for some reason. Is it Ryan Manning, the left back?
Yeah,
Southampton?
he seems to be their like set piece taker. So that's not a terrible shout, to be fair. I think he has got quite a few this season. So it's not a terrible shout. I've certainly heard worse. Stu, what have you got down for Borough Southampton?
You already know, because I pretty much told you on the last go. I agree with Max in the respect of I think it's going to be close. I think one goal will settle it. So stick Borough 0. Because of their delightful home form of late, apart from that one time at Bandcamp. But yeah, 1-0 Southampton as ours. Sorry, Paul.
It's fine. Matt?
I've gone completely the other way here because your team scores goals, they score goals, so I just think it's going to be like a bit of a 2-leg barn burner kind of thing. So I've gone 4-3 at your place.
Bloody hell. 4-3?
4-3. I just looking at some of their scores and some of your recent scores, I was like, oh dear God, do they have defenders in these teams?
Well, Luke Ayling plays there still, so the answer to that question is.
I've named a Villa defender in my scorers, so I've gone Strelic, Conway, Fry, and McGree for the Borough scorers.
Yeah.
And Old Boy Rule, Archer.
Yeah.
Edozie?
Edozie, yeah.
And Fellows for Southampton.
Nice. I too think there will be goals. And everything I've heard from like all the other sort of Borough fans that have been talking about this has kind of said the same thing. Feel like we need to take something down there for the second leg. But we do seem to be playing better away from home than we do at home. So maybe that's not. If we do end up losing the first leg, it might not be, all doom and gloom and stuff like that. But based on how they played against Watford, I might be going a bit off the rails here, but I've gone for a 3-1 home win. Southampton haven't lost for that long that surely they have to lose a game at some point. Just surely. So why not this one? So I've gone for 3-1. I've gone for a goal each for what appears to be the front three. I've gone for Conway, Strelech, and Whittaker. And like Matt, I've gone for the old boy rule, but I've gone for Archer as well. Doesn't seem to have been scoring that many, but does keep playing for him. So just needs to, rediscover his, shooting boots that he left at the Riverside when he was last playing for the Borough. So we've got 3 games left to cover. But before we bring you Nottingham Forest's next fixture, we will once again just take a very, very short break, and we'll be right back with you. Join us in a minute for Nottingham Forest versus Newcastle United. Don't go anywhere. And just like that, our next break is indeed over. One thing I did forget to mention when covering the Middlesbrough game is that I will indeed be in attendance for the fixture. So, game
you
4.
could have told us that before we did the predictions.
Well, no, because you still went for the 0-1 anyway.
I know, I'd have maybe have made it like 2 or 3.
Sly bastard. Oh, it's all right though. I'm seeing in my book that I've got the second leg of these playoffs to predict. So might have to change some predictions here. Anyway, before we get to that, we have a little matter of a Premier League fixture between Nottingham Forest and Newcastle United to take care of. Obviously, it's Mr. Mo's team. He will give his prediction last. I'll jump in again here. I've gone for a 2-2 draw. Annoyingly, Newcastle got a result in their last league fixture to kick them out of a bit of a rut that they'd found themselves in, and it pretty much ensured their survival. Because at the time, it looks as if they were potentially sliding into a relegation battle, which would have been absolutely fucking hilarious. So, but yeah, sadly, they do seem to have got themselves out of it now. Yeah, I've gone for a 2-2 draw. I've gone for Wood and the McAtee to score for Forest. And I've gone for Barnes and Osula to score for Newcastle. Stu, what have you got down for Forest Toon?
I have got Forest to win 2-1. I feel like that their form has turned the corner at the right time. Newcastle haven't been great, barring that last result. So Forest 2, Newcastle 1, and it's doubling down on the old boys. Anderson with his fancy pants bag of nutmeg, and Wood for Forest, and then Murphy for Newcastle because I had to pick somebody.
Lovely. Max?
I think Forest are going to be on a high after getting to the Europa League final, and I think they are going to beat Newcastle 3-1.
Ooh.
I have gone
music
for
to Matt's ears.
I've gone for Wood. I've gone for Taiwo because I think he'll be playing as he's not in the Europa League squad. And Wood, Taiwo, and I've also gone for I think Gibbs White will come on late in the game. And I think he'll bag a third. And for Newcastle, I've got Willock. Unless he's injured.
I don't think he is. Let me just double check. I'll see if he played or if he was on the bench or whatever for the last game. Newcastle lineups. Joe Willock started the game against Brighton. So yes, he is very much an available option. Lovely pick. So yeah, how do you see it playing out? One of those ones where annoyingly the wrong area of the country for you for this game.
Yeah, and there are still the odd ticket available here and there for it. But yeah, I'm going to the Bournemouth game on the last day of the season, so getting to see the parade, the Europa League trophy at the start of the game.
Obviously,
of course. We haven't beaten Newcastle at home since we got back into the Premier League, which is annoying considering where I live and the children I have to teach, and somehow every so often find out that I'm a Forest fan. That even though I do keep well under wraps because I don't like talking football with kids because they're stupid.
Matthew, can we rephrase that just for the area that you're in? Just ill-informed is how I would say.
And I thought maybe this was going to be the chance that we'd get to beat them because their form was so poor. But obviously against Brighton, they played well. Bruno Guimaraes is back. and they seem to have realised that Voltemader's a donkey and stopped playing him. So I've gone for a 2-2 draw. I get the feeling that Gibbs White is going to want to play every single match between now and the end of the season, because I really think that it could be a push for him to get into the England squad. I still don't think Tommy Tuchel thinks he fancies him. I think he will find any excuse not to include him in the squad, even though he has been playing better than I could name 3 players that he's been playing better than: Foden, Palmer. Rodgers more recently as well, kind of thing. Those 3's been playing better than. There's probably other players in the squad. I mean, if Jordan Henderson gets in that World Cup squad, dear God.
Watch Conor Gallagher walk straight in.
Oh yeah, because he scored a goal against Villa, the second choice Villa team. Honest to God, yeah. Well, Chelsea player, isn't it? Yeah. But that being said, I've also gone for a 2-2 draw. There are old boys all over the place here. I've got Wood and Anderson for Forest.
Yeah, but who's your second goal scorer?
And I've got Elanga, because of course.
Oh yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
And Ascula.
No, I won't say it because then it will definitely happen. Lovely stuff. So, 2 games left, and it's the reverse fixtures of our team's relevant semi-finals. The first of which takes place on Monday evening, live on the Sky Telly box. I can only presume that neither one of you fancied the schlep down to Bermondsey for this one.
Ironically, when this game is kicking off, my kids will be coming away from the Louis Coyle Football Academy. So I would bet the house on the fact that he's not going to be at training on Monday night.
What? Part-timer?
The
If
club
you get sent off on Saturday, mate.
Don't say that, Matthew.
the club have organised a beam back, or as it's known in this day and age, putting the telly on in the Legends Lounge. So you can currently book tickets in the Legends Lounge to go and watch it at the stadium in the comfort of the lounge, and it's £6.50 pints and it's £15 pizzas. So thank you very much for that wave of generosity. Yeah, not going. Oddly enough, it's a Monday night. You're not going to get the time off work, and if it was tight and something controversial happens, not sure I really fancy taking the kids to Millwall on a Monday evening. So we aren't going to that one, but we'll be following along.
I was going to say,
when I say following along, I'm potentially getting dropped off at the pub on the way back from the football training.
I see. Well, I was going to say, is there any way that can they do something at the academy where they can sort of show it in a space somewhere?
No, it's the training's just up at some 3G pitches at a local sports team that used the wrong shaped ball for most of their fixtures. So unfortunately, it is just an outdoor area, and gone 8 o'clock. It'll be it's always windy up there, even in the height of summer. It's fucking freezing. So I'd rather go to the pub on the way home, if I'm honest.
Fair enough. I'm assuming you're also not going, Max?
No, I'm not going. My older brother who lives in London said he might be going.
Interesting.
He said it depends how tight it is.
I'm
assuming
yes, like Mr. Woodmansey said.
Result of the first game. Don't know what else he could be talking about.
Yes, like Mr. Woodmansey said, if this one ends up being like a tense affair, not really the place you want to be coming away from if you nick one, shall we say.
Or if your winning goal is offside again, for example.
Who can tell? So, I'll flop it round this time. I'll give Stu the chance to go last on this one. So let's go straight back to Matt for his pick for the second leg, Millwall Hull.
I've gone for Hull to nick it, I've gone 0-1 with Balumi to score.
I mean, I'd take it.
Strangely enough, 3 of the 4 teams involved in this playoffs seem to play better away from home. Obviously, Borough being one of them, Hull being the other, and Millwall being the other. But I've gone for Millwall to win it 2-1. Now, partnered with my 2-1 from the first leg, that would mean that we would have to suffer extra time and penalties potentially. And I do think there'll be a penalty shootout across one, if not potentially both, of the ties. And it seems I don't want to do it to myself. I'm sorry, boys, I've had to do it to you. so I've gone for it to be level after 90, but I have gone for Hull to win it on pens. I reckon it could just be one of those games where it's tight, it's niggly. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a red card in this, because it can just be one of those atmospheres where it just gets sort of tense. If there was, I'd be more than shocked if it wasn't for the home team, because and I don't really know why. I just have that sort of feeling that Millwall could be 2-0 up, but go down to 10, and that's where Hull can get back into it.
How does that work? That means that whoever would receive that would surely be banned for the final then.
Well, you would think so. I don't know if it's one of those ones where you can obviously appeal it, and obviously then it gets overturned if it's deemed to be incorrect. But I think it also depends on whether it's 2 yellows or whether it's a straight red as to whether it can be appealed. So, and I think the threshold's been passed for all the sort of the totting up as well. So anyone who might have been on 14 yellows or something, I think is now safe. So I've gone for Coburn and Aziz to score for Millwall. And I've gone for the tree. I've gone for Crooks to get the goal for Hull. Max,
Gone
thoughts?
for a 1-1 draw.
Okay.
I went 2-1 in the first game towards City.
Yep.
I also think the tree's going to score.
Okay.
To make it 3-1 on aggregate, and I think Macaulay Langstaff.
Yeah.
I think Langstaff will score for Millwall. I think they'll bring him on to create a bit of havoc. I think they'll probably score in about the 75th minute or something. And I think it'll get quite tense towards the end as Millwall are pushing to level things up in the tie. But I think they'll hold on. And I think either Panda will learn. Well, I will continue to use his hands, Stuart.
So, Max's picks would indeed have Hull advancing to the final. Stu, you went for a 2-2 draw in the first leg. What are you going for in the second?
I've had this thing for a while with the form, and when our form started to dip, and then obviously eventually we dropped out of the top 6 and all the rest of it. Now, we were supposed to get relegated this year, so finishing 6th to me is kind of what the aim was. I'm not sure that they've got enough left in the tank to finish this off, as much as it kills me to say that. The thing I'm happy about is that they were sat in the top 6 for such a long period of time that had they not made the playoffs, I think it would have killed the momentum of the team going into next season as well, particularly if they can keep that nucleus of the squad together. The fact that they have made the playoffs now, it feels like a bit of a free hit, and I also feel like if they lose, it should, in theory, give them that extra bit of fire for next season with a few new additions, and they could do even better. But having said that, unfortunately, I don't see us going to Wembley. I think our previous playoff sort of experiences of the more recent times have been a little bit rose tinted because it's almost been a bit too easy. Watford, looking at you. Derby, looking at you. In the semi-finals, at least Max
Was
pulling that
Derby
face.
easy?
Well, the first leg was.
This leg was.
I
Second leg
watched. I
wasn't.
watched it with a Derby fan, so um, I just I don't have a good feeling about the outcome overall. So I think that they'll put on a bit of a show at home if they can, and whilst we have had a good away record, I've got Millwall to win 2-0.
Scorers.
Ivanovic again, and just because Ballo, Ballo,
Sorry?
Balllo.
Ballo.
Can I just say I booked the weekend of the playoff final off in October because I was that confident that we were going to get to the playoff final in October.
Well,
I
It
didn't.
can be cancelled though.
stranger things have happened, lads. Stranger things have happened. So that brings us to our sixth and final game to predict of the week. And it is the reverse fixture of my lot. So it's Southampton versus the Borough. Obviously, I will give the last prediction of the week. So we'll go straight back to Mr. Woodmansey for his inevitable 4-0 Southampton with Azaz to score all six or something like that.
No, you play better away from home. I have you down to lose the first, so I've got you down to go one better in the away leg and draw. But unfortunately, that does mean that neither of our teams would get to Wembley. I have to say at this point, Paul, as much as I would love one of our teams to be promoted, if it ends up being at the expense of the other, no thanks. Yeah, it'll be awful. So I've got Southampton 1 with Archer to score, and the Borough 1 is Whittaker. And if he pulls another one of them free kicks out like he did when you went the other week,
Ooh.
hello.
Yes, please, referee. I have the exact same thought process of if it ends up being that they do both get to the final, I'll obviously try and get tickets. I'll go. I will hate every single second of it.
Yeah.
Because I just won't be able to sort of. It's that sort of like thing of obviously I'd be delighted if Borough went up, but then obviously like I know that you know the other team doesn't then go up, and you know the boys will be disappointed, and there's all that sort of stuff. And then obviously the flip side of it is obviously then then I'd be disappointed. So no winners.
I mean, I don't know if I should say this on the podcast, but you've made me tell you now just for the full sympathy. But when the final whistle went and it was confirmed that they were in the playoffs on Saturday, the youngest of my twins cried.
Oh,
He was so happy that they'd done it.
Good lad. Well,
and just to hammer it home for the sympathy, my elderly arthritic riddled father turned to me and said, "This is the best moment of my life." I said, "Dad, what are you joking?" This is even better than when you were born, son. I was like,
textbook. Well, speaking of that, let's go straight back to Max for his pick for Southampton versus the Borough.
I'm going for a goal fest, and I'm going for a 3-3 draw.
Okay.
I think Middlesbrough are going to go for it. I think they're going to score a couple of goals, and then I think Southampton are going to have to up their game. I've got Larin for
Yep.
Southampton, Ross Stewart, and I have also got Adozie. And then for the Middlesbrough side, I've got Strelic. I've got, I always forget, it's Whitaker in it that plays for Borough, not
Mhm.
yeah, and Conway again. Actually, is Hayden Hackney fit?
No one knows.
Screw it, I'll go Hackney instead of Conway, regardless.
Okay, interesting.
I like Hayden Hackney.
I've taken your Conway pick out and replaced it with Hackney. If he comes back, I would absolutely love it. Let's put it that way. Matt.
So I went 4-3 in the first leg. I've gone
Mhm.
3-2 in the second leg. Just goals everywhere. I just think it's going to be really open. Like both sides
Yeah.
are really, really open.
Mhm.
So I've gone Stuart, Azaz, and Leo Senza. Cienza?
Stuart, Azaz, and Cienza. Yep.
And then I've gone with Whitaker to score for Borough. And I've also gone with Hayden Hackney just to get one more for the Borough before he signs for Forest in the summer.
Lovely stuff. Obviously, that means that we would have extra time.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got Borough on pens. I'm like,
Oh, you absolute hero. Good lad.
you've predicted pens for Forest so many times this year. I'm like, right, no, you can have some pens back. In the worst possible way.
Oh, God.
The worst possible point is the final, Matt. Come on.
Well, up to this stage, I mean, I'm definitely if either of you get through to the final, you're getting pens up there.
He says this. He says this obviously off the back of the fact that when Forest went up, they had to do the semi-final on pens against Sheffield United. So, he's definitely getting his own back. Absolutely. I've got the exact same pick as one of you, and it's Mr. Moore. I also have gone for a 3-2. I think you're right. I don't think either team have. Not that they don't have it in them to play defensively. I just don't think that Hellberg's style of football is conducive to that. I think he's much more intent on like the sort of like through the thirds, like the sort of the people sort of running in and out of the spaces to create the spaces for people to sort of run in behind and stuff like that. And the tear that Southampton are on, I just think it's unrealistic for us to expect that we won't concede against them. So I too have gone for Southampton to win 3-2, but that does mean that Borough would win 5-4 on aggregate. Jesus Christ, that took me a while. So I've gone for the old boy rule, obviously. So I've gone for Azaz to get his goal in this one. I have also gone for Larin and Cienza. And then for the Borough goals, I've gone for Conway. And then coming on in the sort of 85th minute or something to score the winner, well, not the winner, but the goal that takes Borough to Wembley. I've gone for Hayden Hackney. This is more of a sort of a hopeful punt rather than anything else. I don't even know if he's going to be fit in time for the second leg. I think it's unlikely that he plays in the first leg, and if he does get anything in the second leg, I don't think he'll start the game. But I think if it's a case of, well, they need something from the game and he's fit enough to give you 20 minutes, I think they'd be stupid to not put him on. So I've gone for Hackney to have the fairy tale story, shall we say. So that is the end of the predictions for this week, ladies and gentlemen. But I believe that Mr. Woodmansey has something he would like to bring to the table to end the podcast this week. So over to you, sir.
It's just a silly little thing, a silly little funny story that I saw online, and I don't have intricate details, I just have the top level of it, but I found it perfect. So, everybody knows that Arsenal were going to win the Premier League, then they weren't going to win the Premier League. Now they might win the Premier League, but they've also got the Champions League final to consider. And back in October, taking the leaf out of Max's book, clearly, an Arsenal fan posted his receipt of a hotel booking for Budapest online to say that he'd booked this hotel in Budapest for the Champions League final because he was so confident that we were going to get there, and he was so proud of himself for doing it at such a cheap rate. The only problem is that he left the booking confirmation reference in the screenshot that he posted online, and the booking was subsequently cancelled by a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Fantastic.
I too had seen that story. Absolutely fantastic. I presume it is 100% legit and stuff like that, but annoyingly, there'll probably be ways around that guy being able to get his booking back and not have to pay the extortionate fee. But I think it was more the fact it was like his sort of like his bragging way of saying, "Oh, I booked this for like £80 and now they're trying to charge like 1,600 or something." It was like, yeah, fuck off, mate.
I just enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
That was very, very good. I did quite enjoy that when I saw it earlier on today. Yes, so the Champions League final is Arsenal versus Paris Saint-Germain. What a lose final we have ahead of us. Jesus Christ. Yeah, just not. Sometimes football's just not fair, is it? But, we'll wait and see. So, there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another week done and dusted. Thank you, as always, to the gentlemen you see on your screen that have joined me this week to go through the details of their teams. A special thank you to Max for hopping on for the football podcast. I'm sure you'll see his happy, smiling face on the next Getting Over Wrestling podcast, which I'm sure will be coming to you very, very shortly. Join us again next week, where we'll go through those 6 games that we predicted, and fingers crossed, we'll have a playoff final that we'll need to predict for, if not one, potentially even both of our teams. But until then, it's tatty bye from all us 4, and we will see you in a week's time. Tatty bye for now.
Bye.
So there you go, what do you think of that? Another one done, another one gone. Big thank you for watching, big thank you for listening, big thank you for being here. Before you leave us, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review, and check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we have social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. That's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to these grumpy old men talk about football. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.